And even back to base, you see, this is something that people miss. Why is it 3 years down the line? You know this person's got bad credit. You should know this before you sign on a dotted line. And exchange rings. You need to know this.
Yeah, it's true.
You must know. I think definitely the marriage thing cannot be taken lightly. You got to take your time. I think it's even important to seek counsel from experienced people, tried and tested people, number one, who can actually tell you the things to look at. Come together. The important things like how do you build together as a unit? The reality, what are your priorities in life going forward? What do you believe in from a faith perspective? What do you believe in when it comes to children and childcare? When it comes to, if you do decide to have children, are you going to still be building a career? Or are you going to be full-time, being a homemaker with the children? Like, what is it? And when people don't ask these questions from the get-go, as soon as it actually emerges, when they're in the constraints of marriage, they bang heads.
Yeah, of course.
They bang heads.
And and there's, because I know there's a book out there. Can't remember how many questions there is. Maybe it's like 50 questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can probably, we put it up afterwards. But it's like questions you ask before you get married. And those are kind of like the questions like, so, like, where do you want to live? Like, how many kids you want? If we do have kids, like, if you're from different backgrounds, like, how do you want them to be raised? What's your opinion on, like, when it comes to Christmas or Christmas time? Whose grandparents are they going to? Yours or mine? Like, all these conversations that you need to have, because these are the small things that potentially can have conflict. So it's about setting expectations from the get-go as well. And I think that's where a lot of relationships go wrong amongst, like, marriage, friendship, business, is that the expectations hasn't been cleared and outset from the get-go.
Yeah.
And because the expectations being blurred and you've entered, we've got down the marriage route, you entered like a marriage unity, then it's like, right, how do we navigate this now? How do we navigate this? Because I have a certain expectation of you when it comes to this, and now you think totally different to what I think. And in order for it to come together, you need to literally have that conversation from the offset.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to.
You know what, even just as we're on the relationship side of it, even like that book on the 5 love languages.
Yes.
You see, these sort of factual things, like how does this person like to be loved? The different things. I can't read them all off. What is it? Words of affirmation, physical touch, gift giving, acts of service.
Yeah.
And what's the final one? Not sure.
Oh no, I know someone in the YouTube in the comments said that it's this one.
Yeah, it was just in my head, but I'm not sure what the last one is. But even with that, like, sometimes you can make the assumption that, okay, cool, this is how I show love to somebody. But when it comes to that, a relationship,
is it acts of service?
It may be acts of service, yeah. But when it comes to relationships, you actually need to observe, what does this person require? How does this person like to be loved? Because these base things, because how you feel they should be loved, like that might not register with them. It might not register. And just to land the plane, then you'll feel hard down by, oh, I'm doing all of this, showing you love. You don't appreciate it. But no, that's not what this person receives. So it's gathering information and being very factual about this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's true, because I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's just when you're saying that, because what you might have your affirmations on might be like act of service. You think because I like act of service, you might like the same, but that person might just like gifts.
Yeah.
And that's where the conflict might be. So it's about, number one, understanding yours, but again, more important, it's about understanding theirs as well.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like, from a relationship standpoint, if someone's number one was gifts, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is a hustler.
Yeah, I like gifts. And I think one of those, like, is spending time with each other or whatever it may be. But yeah, definitely. Again, just making sure that you have the same, as I said, same like language on that aspect, and obviously making sure that when it comes to having someone, just making sure that ultimately with everyone, just making sure that they're an asset.
Yeah.
Just making sure that they bring peace into your life. Like one thing, that I need in my personal life is peace. Yeah. Peace of mind.
Oh, yes.
You can't put a price on peace of mind. Yeah. And that comes again with friendships. That again comes with business partners. Like, you want peace of mind. You don't want to go there thinking, oh, I can't trust this person, or I have to watch my back, or whatever it may be. You want to feel like, okay, we've got an understanding. This is what it needs to be. What you bring to the table, okay, I'm bringing this to the table, which is of value, and vice versa. And then by doing that, you'll be able to navigate that. I don't know. I don't want to say fortunately, unfortunately, but there's been people that I've had close in my life that I had to wean off because I've come to the realization that they're liabilities,
Oh yes.
and you know, and so as harsh as that may sound, there's people that needs to get cut off.
Yeah.
It just has to be.
Absolutely. And this is it. It's like, you might have all these great jokes and stuff for people, but you actually have to look at what is an asset. Asset is something that adds to, a liability is something that takes
Subtract.
from, subtracts from you. So you just have to observe. Hold on. Potentially you could be an asset to them. You could keep being an asset, but they could keep being a liability to you. So at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you're willing to accept the liability, personally, I think there's very few instances where you should be willing to accept it. For example, it depends how cutthroat you want to be. Like, depending on how close it is, it could be a close family member. You might say to yourself, okay, this person is a liability, but out of love, I'm going to accept this liability. But I think when it just comes to having a whole load of friends, a whole load of liabilities, for example, let's take, the guy who's done very well for himself. He's got loads of people around him. He's buying all the drinks, for example. Come on, just look around you. You've got so many liabilities around you. Just tighten up. Just tighten up.
Yeah.